So in the second part of the work truck build, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the weathering process that I'm going to be doing on this truck. I do have a tutorial on my channel that goes more into depth in the process. If that's what you're looking for, this is just going to be kind of a, I'll probably just fast forward through the process, but kind of show you the basic idea of what I'm doing. Anyways, here's the truck. As you can see, I've already done the chipping. So to get you caught up to where I am right now, I took the body, I sprayed it in Rust-Oleum self-etch primer. I've never been able to figure out a definitive yes or no on whether self-etch actually works on plastic. I always thought that the chemical process only works on metal, but I've had a lot more successful paint jobs when I use self-etch primer. For example, the bed I did not use self-etch, the cab I did, and the masking tape peeled off some of the primer on the bed, but it was totally fine on the cab. So I don't know about that, but I like using self-etch. It also kind of helps because the yellow plastic is such a vibrant color. It tends to act as a little bit of a color barrier in my experience to kind of help you lay down the other colors. I don't know. But as I mentioned, both the bed and the body, both the bed and the cab have been primered. The cab got self-etched, then regular primer. The bed just got regular primer. And then I did the peeling paint job. So for that, what I did is I used 3M automotive painter's tape. This is the paint I use for two-tone paint jobs. It works really nice. Haven't really had any issues with bleeding on it. If it's good enough for full-size cars, it's good enough for models, right? The bed, I used regular Duck brand masking tape, and I was not a fan of it. The hope for using that style of tape was the 3M tape just is a little too elastic. So I was trying the regular masking tape to see if it would rip easier, and it did, but it also caused a lot of bleeding. So I'm not very happy with how the bed turned out. As you can see, we got some bleeding there. And then on the passenger side, all sorts of bleeding along there. So I'm not happy with that. But we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to worry about the cab today. So for the cab, I used the 3M tape. Basically how I did the peeling, it's pretty simple, right? Take a piece of tape, kind of rip it, get all sorts of funky edges, and then if you can rip it a bit faster, you might get more of an effect. But there you go. Whoop. You gonna focus? There you go. So there's your rough edge there, and then I just applied that to the truck where I wanted it, sprayed over, removed the tape, and then clear coated. Simple as that. I also went very light on the top side of the cab, so you might be able to tell that there's a bit of a gray hue to the roof as opposed to the door, and that's because I went very light with the white paint on the roof, and I went a little heavier on the hood, but still a lot lighter than I did elsewhere on the body. And what paint did I use? I think I used Rust-Oleum. No, it's Krylon flat white. So spray paint, super easy. Just make sure the can is warm, you should be fine. So that gets you caught up to where we are with the cab. So now we're going to start on the actual weathering process. Due to this being a newer truck, I'm going to keep it fairly light. This is not going to be a full-on rat rod. This is not going to be something that was dug out of a swamp. It's going to be a well-used, sun-baked truck. So one of the tips I like to tell people about weathering is look up photos. See if you can find patina, barn find, rat rod, whatever key terms you feel like you need to do in order to find examples of the vehicle you're weathering and see how they actually weather. Another thing, I love going to junkyards, I love roaming through, I love taking photos, I love looking to see how cars rust, and that's, in my opinion, one of the best things I can do to teach myself how to weather better. So I've done a ton of research looking through big iron classifieds and a lot of other equipment auction sites to try to find old C3500 flatbeds, not brush trucks, landscaping trucks, all these well-worked trucks, and then get to see how they weather. And this is also going to be a California truck, so rule of thumb, dry climate, rust down, wet climate, rust up. So this is not going to get as much rust around the rockers and the wheel well as you would see in a Midwestern or an East Coast truck, but you will see a lot of top-down patina because it's a West Coast truck. So what we're going to start off with is I'm going to use, I use all Vallejo paints. You can honestly use whatever acrylic you want. I'm not going to tell you what to buy. But I'm going to be starting off with Vallejo Natural Gray. And this is kind of a mid-tone gray, a little bit darker. And I'm just going to go over the primer spots in order to give it a little bit of interest. I did do it on this side as a little bit of a test, just to make sure it was the right look. And if you take a peek once it focuses, there you go. You can see it just adds a little bit of a variation to the primer. And I'm also going to go over this with just a tiny bit of rust in these areas to show just where the paint is starting to be broken through. So I'm just going to go back and do the passenger or the driver's side with the gray. I'm guessing I should probably actually mention how I'm going to be doing the weathering. So I use, these are latex-free makeup sponges that I get at Target. You can probably get them CVS, grocery store, wherever you have near you. But these are sponges that are made specifically for blending makeup. So that's why I was drawn to trying them, and they do a pretty good job at blending paint. So typically what I do is I just take one of these squares, rip it into 4 sections, and then you can use this piece for a more rough texture or a more smooth texture. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the gray. So the gray didn't take very long. I'm also going to try out a new angle. Hopefully it'll make it easier to see. So the next 3 colors I'm going to use for the rust are going to be, in order, Vallejo Orange Brown. That's going to be your light coat. Medium is going to be this Panzer Aces by Vallejo. I have a new bottle here that has a legible label. It is the Light Rust, number 301. And then we have the Dark Flat Brown by Vallejo. So I'm not going to use a ton of this just because of how new the rust on this truck is going to be. If I'm doing like a 60s or earlier car, I tend to use a bit more of the brown. But I'm really just going to be focusing on the light rust and the medium rust.
Nights are lit.
So that's pretty much going to do it for the rusting on this. So the basic idea of this is you're creating layers with the paint. So I started with the orange brown, used a good amount of it, tried to cover the majority of the roof, still leaving some patches for the white and the gray to come through, but pretty much the whole roof got some level of the orange. And then I did a little bit of orange in the primer spots, just where the paint is thin, so the sun's going to be baking through it. And then I did a little bit in the rockers, not too much though, just in the common rust spots. Then on the driver's side, went pretty light. Good rust spot here in the cab corner. I'm going to do a little bit of off-camera touching up just because it's hard to get anything to look perfect when you're trying to frame it around a camera. I'm pretty happy with it though. I keep wearing off some of the corners as I put it down, so I'm going to make sure I get those finished up. And then this will be good for some clear. I'll go in and after the clear I'll do the black trim, I'll paint the engine bay, I'll paint the cowl and the wiper blades, and then that'll pretty much be it for the truck. So I'm going to go ahead and do the hood as well. You don't need to see more of the same thing, so I'll just cut to when that's done. Alright, so here it is with the finished hood. Did go a little heavy on the hood, but it kind of matches the roof. But here's the front. Like I mentioned, I added the little wear marks from where they were messing with the hood. So yeah, that's going to be it for the patina on this build. Like I said, going to shoot some clear over it and then do the detailing and get on with everything else. I still got to paint the bed. I guess just for fun we can throw it on the chassis. See how it looks. So there's your three-wheeler. Kinda. Yeah. Why not? We're playing here. There's an idea of it with the bed. And yeah, so that's just kind of a video going over the weathering process on this truck. And I'll have an update for you again soon.